Hello and welcome to the Growing Green podcast. Your host, Jeremiah Jennings, is the owner of Growing Green Landscapes in Birmingham, Alabama, and has a passion for growing the entrepreneurship community for those who are young in business. Being a business owner isn't easy, especially in the early years, and that's why in this show we dive into a wide range of topics covering all the challenges small business owners deal with. Even if your company is generating $1 million or more, the stories from our great guest and Jeremiah's own firsthand experiences will propel your business forward. And now, here's your host, Jeremiah Jennings.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in to an episode today here on the Growing Green podcast. This is your host, Jeremiah Jennings, and I am very excited to come to you today with another fresh new episode for your Friday. And hope you're doing well. Hope you are going out. Hope you had a good week and crushed it this week. If you had some challenges, some setbacks, then just know that you can push through them. It's okay. And next week starts a new week. So I appreciate you tuning in and following along with us. We are down here on the beautiful Gulf Coast of Mexico, overlooking the water this morning on the balcony. It is a beautiful day to be alive. We're excited to be here, be on vacation, get a little bit of rest and recovery in place because we are about to rock and roll through the heat of the summer here, and we probably won't be going anywhere again until we go to the Bahamas in July for to get in the trade. So excited to just get away for this little week here and spend some time with friends and family and have a good time down here. But nonetheless, we have another great guest interview lined up for you today, and we have none other than Tony Rudolph on the show. Tony is a familiar name in the industry. You've probably heard him if you listen to Paul Jameson's show, any at all. I know you and Paul have been buddies for a while and been on his show a couple of times. And so, yeah, man, I appreciate you reaching out. Appreciate the opportunity to get you on the show, and want to dive into a little bit of your story and hear more about you because I know you're not too far from me down here in the land of the South. So welcome to the show, man.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. You know, I have a great respect for you and your family and what you're doing in your business, and you kind of broke into the lawn care scene. You know, that is intimidating for a lot of people, like if they're going to start a podcast or something. So if you're out there and you feel like maybe you should start a podcast, maybe you should, you know. So I think it's, you know, you've been building it like, you know, for nothing and kind of came into the game, even though, you know, a lot of these guys been doing it for a long time. And I think that works just like how our business works. You know, a lot of people out there, some people listening to this right now have a normal 9-to-5 job, and they're thinking, man, I wish I could start a lawn care business. But we're here to tell you that, hey, you can. I think 2024, 2025 is the best year ever to start a lawn care business because less and less people want to take care of their own lawn and landscaping. And so, yeah. So
that's awesome, dude.
I really appreciate you.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to have you, and that is very true. You're hitting on something there that we really don't even talk about that much. Like I get in this mindset of like growing the business and rock and roll and doing that. But it is true. Like there's a lot of people out there who are still just trying to decide if they even want to do the business or how can they do it, how can they go full time, and I think that doesn't need to be overlooked because that's a very, very beginning fundamental stage of like. You have to devote the time, the effort, and the energy, but you also have to change your mindset, and you have to be confident in your decision and try to create the vision, cast the vision for where you can be in a couple years. So it's not always easy. It is hard. We have those tough days, those tough weeks, and you have setbacks, you have challenges. On our last episode, we literally talked about a guy who, Martin there, got stiffed for $45,000 on a job. Like, tell me that's not hard. That's a big setback, and so I think that a lot of guys going in need to know that it's not that easy, and we do talk about that a good bit, just the real, the raw, and we even were chatting back and forth about that over text. Like that's what you were saying you kind of resonated with was just the real life of running the company. And so, what has been your experience like with on that side of things? It's not always sunshine and rainbows. So what are maybe some challenges or some real life examples that you can share with the audience here today, like how you struggled through something, but then what you did to overcome it, and now how you're growing the company?
Well, so I grew up basically in the lawn care business. My dad started in 1986, and so even as a kid, you know, like I mowed my first lawn with the Toro Proline 44-inch walk behind, motor front yard, maybe 8-ish years old, and it didn't look good, but that was my first time I mowed, and then and thankfully, I'm very grateful for this, but I was homeschooled, so that meant even in some of my middle school age years, even starting then, I was working half days in my dad's company and stuff. Definitely did not enjoy it back then, because I felt like, man, we are a strange family that owns a lawn care business, and I just didn't. Just like a lot of kids, I feel like can have this when they work with their dad. They're just, I don't know. I wasn't excited about it. We were clearing lots. We were doing all kind of things. And so I wasn't really into it. And then thankfully, I kept going through it. I kept doing it. Obviously with my parents, prodding and stuff, like my dad, I'm thankful that, he's not a wimp or, like one of these, new safe space kind of dads. He's not that kind of dad.
Yeah.
I was treated just like anyone else that was on the crew. And so, but I'm super grateful for that. So when I go into teenage years, started to enjoy it a little more and started really just enjoying being on his crew and started, picking up things like, just like edging with a weed eater and all these things. I wanted to be better than the other guys that worked for him. And so I started to do that. I started to kind of fulfill that role in my own mind, at least. and so that's when I kind of started to enjoy the business, but still, I don't know. I think that's when I started to enjoy it, is maybe 13, 14, 15, range. And then when I started driving, I was, ran a route basically for him. And then, part of the plan, like all along, is when I was adult, and I have a brother too. And if we wanted to, we could start our own company when we became, adult, just so we can, make adult money and all that. And my dad he didn't really necessarily want to set up, the infrastructure to make it, super deep, the deep partnerships and all this stuff, or to continue to work in his company. Not that anything like that is bad, but, I've seen my dad have large companies over the years, and, and sometimes, he's had smaller companies, like he's always done it, but like sometimes his company's been very large. Like even when George Bush came here to the lake back in the day, like my dad did the full landscape at the Ritz-Carlton that's on the water here. And that's a big place, new cart path and the whole thing. So he's had his company really big like that and had lots of guys working for him. And then, portions of my life where he's kept it small, me and my brother and, a couple other guys, and done that because he does everything, like, build seawalls and climb trees as a kid, and still cuts trees and builds walls and stonework. We poured driveways, you name it. But, he didn't necessarily, he was kind in that way, but also he didn't really necessarily want his company to, so what happened is, so I continued to work for him. And then when I was 17, 18, I started just like anyone else, with 0 yards, printed up some of my own cards and started to pass them out. That was maybe 6 or 8 months before I got married. And, somewhere around in that range. And then as I got married, we, just like anyone else, I picked up 1 yard here, 2 yard there, and just had a few. And then I would still work in my dad's company. And then every, in the night times, and then like on the weekend, Saturdays and this and that, I would do a few of my lawns. And that was some of the hardest time in life, because I was newly married. I was a good technician, but that doesn't mean that I was a good business owner, So, I had, all of these different kind of crazy biweekly lawns scattered all over the city. I wasn't getting paid, enough. I feel like when you're starting your business, like you somehow these bad customers, you're like a magnet for them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I definitely had that, so there's several years where, man, I was, I rented this walk behind mower from my dad for a little bit. And then, I saved up my money and bought my first mower, commercial mower, which is a Toro walk behind mower. bought it from a kid that was like a very successful kid, like an hour away, in Atlanta. And I just remember that it just really blew my mind. I went down there and bought this mower from, I think, $1,200, and he was selling it because he was upgrading his fleet. He had like a couple new Walker mowers, and this kid was like 14 years old or something, So, so anyway, so I bought that mower, and that's kind of how it started. But like I said, it was hard years, new married, my wife, she was like, I don't know about this, all this business thing, I'm out till, 9, 10 at night after working with my dad and doing this. And, or we have this little, renting this little house. And, and like I said, my boundaries, or whatever you want to call it, like my professionalism with customers, just like everyone struggles with this when you're new, maybe some people just come in and boom, they can just command right price and they feel comfortable in their skin right away. But that's not my story. I started out, was doing things for way too cheap. I think it's just, I wouldn't say the prices were way off, but but then the customer would, these type of customers would always, want all these extra trips back out and all these random things. And I didn't, I would do it, because I figure, if I'm going to be a business owner,
you didn't know how to say no.
Right. So I figured, hey, if I'm going to be a business owner, that means I have to just do whatever they want me to do for free. You know what I mean? So I kind of had that mindset, and I still need to serve people, but there, this needs to be a win-win, both ways. But again, I didn't fully understand boundaries, pricing, all the things. So those first few years, it was hard because, like I said, we were new married. My wife, she just wasn't sure. She was hoping, like, man, I hope this business thing that you do is really good. So then, fast forward years later, I kept at it, kept doing it. I started, I think, 13 years ago, maybe. And so what I would do is slowly over the years, over time, I would, do one less day in my dad's company, so then for a while, like I was working Fridays, Saturdays, my lawns, and then, during the nights and things. And then, maybe the next couple of years after that, maybe I went to 4 days, 3 days, that kind of thing. And then my younger brother got married years later. And he wanted to take on a bigger role in my dad's company. Cause my brother didn't want to like do his own company, So anyway, and then, so I kind of fully stepped away maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And then now but obviously we have a great relationship. So I still help my dad with things, if he has some big project, on the end of the week or something, and I still want to do that, and just work as one of his employees, here and there. And, I make some extra money doing that, and it's cool. And so that's kind of the setup right now is, so 12, 13 years later, I have a lot of, every account is weekly, 12 months a year, that kind of thing. And, I pretty much do almost everything at their property that they need, whether that be, depending on some houses, but like, I clean the gutters and, take care of all the shrubs and, weeds in the bed and, clean all the debris and service and work on the irrigation and, keep an eye on the programming of that. And, just all those kind of normal things. And so that's what I'm doing years later. And I've just, continued to each year, got rid of some accounts. And then, when I change them all to weekly, obviously that, thins a few out, but that was kind of a problem because I thought a whole bunch would leave and a bunch wanted to just, pay the extra money and keep me as year round or as weekly. And so now, but I've continued to kind of, keep trimming it. And so now I'm basically in 2 big lake neighborhoods, gated neighborhoods, and all my yards are just in those 2 properties except for my church. And I have a couple properties like the street next to, like right behind, like in my neighborhood. Does that make sense? And so that's kind of what we're doing, and I have had, employees here or there over the years. And there's nothing wrong with that, but, right now for me, I've been really enjoying the setup, that I have. I've been able to make enough money, where my wife's been able to, not work. And you guys have been talking some of those things lately too. And so she's been able to be home. And then now, a huge blessing is that we're able to homeschool our kids as well. And that's something that, I would wanted to do. It wasn't a deal breaker. It's not something I really even talked about to my wife, priorhand. I probably should have, but, cause she, went to a private school and that kind of thing. So she knew nothing about homeschool. Like she didn't even know I was homeschooled, I guess, maybe not right at first. As a kid, I kind of would, keep that on the down low, as much as possible. Cause I had a lot of friends, as a kid, and I don't think, being homeschooled like prevents you from having a social life. I feel like it's quite the contrary. I feel like, you can, through parents and mentors and people at church and the body of Christ, like you can learn how to better interact with people, and you can have a better social life if you're not, screwed up by the government school system, that people, are involved in.
Yeah.
So I've always had more friends. Well, I definitely had more friends as I was a kid, like I'm not just daily hanging out with people, as an adult now. I have a contractor friend coming over for supper tonight, and him and his family, and that's really cool. Is that you or is that me? Someone's getting a call in.
It's not me,
but
if you need to take it, go ahead.
No, I'm not taking it.
All right.
I'm scared to hit the red phone though. I don't know if this will hang up. I don't think it will. I'm going to try it. Anyway, I'll just let it be. But anyway, so that's, I don't know if I rambled or went all over the question too much. But I feel like, now, I live a very full life doing what we do. Like I said, there's always things going on, doing a lot of stuff with church, doing a lot of things, I have a men's group that I'm part of on Tuesday night. And then, a lot of stuff with drums, cause I'm a drummer, and I play for, I don't know, it's a semi large church, at least for our area. And so, and that's kind of that's how I met my wife as well. Actually, I was brought into another church, like when I was in, I don't know, 17, 18 age to help with this band. And so I went, we went there because my brother plays guitar as well. And so we brung in, and I was there to play and I guess help get their band kind of together for a while.
Yeah.
And my wife was in the youth group there. And that's how I know her, that was a long time ago. And I thought no chance, that she would ever like me, cause I don't know.
You were the weird homeschooled kid.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And we went all around the Southeast as a kid, racing radio control cars. And so I was deeply involved with the circuit of that. I mean, we were all around the South, doing that. And that was really, really cool. And that actually kind of helps me. It totally helps me now. That was another cool thing that kind of happened in my life, is because racing radio control cars, it's just almost like a large car. There's, scaled down versions, 4-wheel drive, 3 differentials. Maybe they go 30 to 50 miles an hour, depending on the class you're racing. And we would race on like a dirt bike track, basically, but I was involved in all the series and the circuits and stuff. And that is one thing that really helped my business too, because that was all kind of before I started my company and before I was married and all that. But learning how to, hey, in 2 hours, you got to rip this whole car apart, fix this thing, and have it put it back together in 2 or 3 hours. And that is when my mechanical ability really skyrocketed. And that obviously translates big time, into this business. So that was another, huge thing. I mean, it's been 10, 12 years since I've been to a mower shop, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so because, just like everywhere, they're super backed up or any of these things. And so, and even my trucks and cars, I haven't really had to been to an auto shop, for a very, very, very long time, which is really neat. And so, just learning a ton, about, so that, if I wasn't even in the lawn business like that, I would be super tempted to, to get ASC certification, and work on cars,
Yeah.
But I love the lawn industry. So, I love especially the maintenance side of it. So that's, I know the big projects is where the money and stuff is, and that's true. That's true. But I, figuring out what all of us want in our company, I really enjoy, doing high-end maintenance, making it look better than all the other houses on the street. That's what I like to do. And so that's kind of what I do right now. It's kind of a snapshot of our life and business. And there's, obviously more things in there than that, but, it's busy, but it's really good. And so the lawn care community is just kind of a small part of it. But, so what happened? So as I was starting my business, kind of how the lawn care company or the lawn care, the online community was huge in my life, because as I was starting my business, I started maybe a year or so after I started my company, I found a Jason Creel video. First video I've ever seen. First, knew nothing about social media, YouTube, or any of this stuff. And one that he made like way back in the day. I think I was digging for stuff, as I was early in my company, trying to learn more info on things. And I came across a Jason Creel video. So he was the very first one I ever seen. And then after that, this lady's about to walk into my truck. That was so close. There's a lady, I'm sitting in the front of this $2 million house, and there's this lady looking at her phone, 60, 70 years old with the AirPods in. She's just looking at her phone, walking full speed down this lane. I mean, she was literally 1 foot in front of my truck before she just went around it. But it scared her too. But anyway.
Some good peripheral vision.
Yeah.
Or not so good, some would say.
Right. I mean, she was close. Like,
wow.
I mean, yeah. I mean, she was literally like a couple feet, like straight in the center of like the hood of my truck, and I'm just sitting in the driver's seat, so like I can see her. But anyway, so as in my early years of business, I first found that Jason Creel video, and then I realized that kind of helped open me up to the whole world of the industry, the whole lawn care industry. And that was so encouraging to me. I found that first Jason Creel video, and then, shortly after that, I found like the Greg Chisholm videos, this was back in the day. And then, that was when Greg Chisholm was really starting and all that. And so this is before I had kids and stuff. And my wife would be like, "What are you doing?" You're just like, I would be up late, just like watching these videos on my phone, watching Greg videos, Jason Creel, and even some of these other guys kind of started way back then, but Jason Creel was the very first one. And then, Geek to Freak, second after that. And this was, before Instagram and all that stuff. And so it opened my eyes to, hey, we are not like a weird, landscaping family. There's a whole world of people doing this out there, and, obviously there's always been, good many companies in my area, but just in general, people, friends and peers and people that I know. And I just felt like, man, we're a weird family that like, we don't have a real job. You know what I mean? So like, I felt that way, but then it was kind of mind changing or life changing for me when I found, this whole community of people across the world that are, they're cutting grass and they're happy about doing it. And they're excited to do it. And so that, so I was early in my business, maybe only a year or two, and that really like ignited a fire just to see the whole industry in general. And then, 7-8 years ago, went to the GIE, back then. And then my mind was really blown, just seeing the industry in general. Like, hey, this isn't just like a weird thing, because you got to remember, when I was a kid, it was not as common as it is. Everyone has especially like, COVID and all that, like you see a million trucks, with a lawn care, lawnmower behind it, and maybe they're making a few extra bucks or whatever. But when I was a kid, like, having your own grass cutting business, like that was pretty, I don't know. Like I felt people didn't, I don't remember people like literally telling me this, but I just felt like that, our neighbors and, just the general world in public just thought that was weird that we had a landscape company, and like, cause all my friends, all their parents, they have corporate jobs or whatever, and so, but I feel like now it's way more common and way more accepted. But especially back then, I just thought, man, we're, as a young kid, I thought, man, we're a weird family and we have a landscape business. And then, so all these different life events transpire. But as I started my own business, and then I found the big lawn care, the online and, in person, lawn care community, that was really a life changer. So that's why I have such a huge appreciation for the online lawn care community. Do I agree 1,000% with every, info that's every single, influencer or whatever puts on there? No, but I still think that, 95% of it is great. And there are a few bad apples, just like there is in anything in life, but I'm just so appreciative to the community in general. And so that's the whole thing, for me, and just kind of being involved in the community. It's not that I was, found it and like trying to like grow a YouTube channel per se, or, all these things that it kind of, transpired to other things, down the road. It's kind of, I guess the mission of it has changed a little bit, but I still don't have a problem with that. But so the lawn care online community just, it means so much to me, just because it really opened my eyes to, the whole lawn care world and landscaping world, and the whole industry. And there's, you would never know all this really goes on unless you found out about it, so.
Yeah, 100%. No, it's kind of a hidden gem out there. It's a small community in the grand scheme of like how many people are in the U.S. and around the country. I mean, around the world. But there's a lot of people involved in it, and it's growing every single day. That's literally what I say on our show all the time. We are growing the community one relationship at a time. And so guys like getting you in here years and years ago, that's how this thing grows. And so I'm honestly probably newer to the industry than you are, and it's cool to hear that you have these relationships, you've built these relationships over time. Transition, I want to go back to your business a little bit and hear more of the ins and outs of that, because it interests me that you said you're in one or two neighborhoods there near you, and I want to, like, this is the question that, it doesn't really have a lot of merit to it, so I understand. But I'm curious, being in those big estate homes, those big properties, how many of those do you service?
Yeah, so, like, I'm a complete open book. I have nothing to hold back. So I'm at 30, around 30 every week.
Okay.
Of these properties. I'm actually at 27 right now.
So that's a good chunk. Are you doing the solo, or do you have anybody helping you?
Yeah, so I'm solo. So
that's a lot of work, dude. On those big, I'm thinking of the neighborhood near us who have these type of properties, and if I was doing 30 of them every single week, like that is, one, you're going to make really good money doing that. Two, you're going to have a pretty full schedule. Like that's just because I don't want people to get caught up. If you're out there used to mowing 7,000 square foot lawns and you're doing 100 of them, 200 of them a week, this is not the same situation at all. So much respect for you.
Yeah, so like I have several, like they're highly landscaped, kind of on a slight slope, towards the lake. They're usually around an acre-ish, give or take. The total property, which, a lot of that's like, beds and shrubs, and, they're highly landscaped. But so usually, like, it's not covered with grass. It would be easiest, if it was just all grass, but I have several customers. One lady down the street from here, she has over 400 shrubs in her yard.
Holy cow!
So a lot of I spend half my day really, hedge trimming. Because it's not like where you just like some people maybe like, oh, okay, I cut it, cut the shrubs, I trim the shrubs like in a couple times a year. Like, no, for me, like, I'm just like ongoing, I get, 6 inches of growth on these floripelms, boxwoods, hollies, all these ones that people have. Ligustrums are big here.
Yeah.
A lot of these dense little shrubs, but a lot of people have these big shrubs too. Like they're as tall as me, most of them. And so there's a lot of hedge trimming. And that's kind of the scope of what I'm saying. Like you're saying, it's a lot of work. But in a way, it's kind of good because just a guy that rolls up, that needs, beer money, that has no knowledge about shrubs and things, there is no way he could, keep one of these accounts for more than a month. You know what I mean? So in a way, that's kind of good. It's kind of a little bit higher barrier of entry, I guess, if you think about these neighborhoods. Like even these massive companies, that have, big crews that, with a lot of Hispanic friends of mine and things. I don't know how a nice way to say that, but it's mainly, that's mainly what you see. Probably same as what's over there. And even the more knowledgeable companies and things like, it's very hard for it's not just mowing grass. That's what you're saying. It's not just a square lawn, like, and you go back and forth, trim around, blow it off, done. No. That's not how it is. A lot of weeds in the beds. And remember, we're on the lake and people can pull as much water as they want, with the irrigation. So they like to keep it wet, so that's the other thing. And so I actually use one of these little Hustler Surfer Pro stand-on mower. It's a 48-inch, so I'm still getting pretty good width. But because I'm doing these yards every week, they're high-end. It's all the different zoysias and things like that. Like, I cannot use a fully commercial mower. It's too heavy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, especially when they're getting irrigated like that.
Yes. So mowing kind of, like you're saying, kind of bigger properties. They're all bigger. I don't know what 7,000 square feet, kind of translates to like the ones I'm doing, but they're all like 3/4 acre, 1.1, just kind of in that range. They're not like these neighborhoods. They're not like, right next to each other. You know what I mean? The trees are protected here to an extent.
Which means leaf season is very fun.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So that is actually probably my worst time of year. Even though right now is probably the most work, because I gotta, every time I'm mowing, every time I'm edging, every time I'm spraying some weeds in the beds, every time I'm trimming some bush, some group of shrubs on every property, every week, just as I work my way around the property.
Yeah.
Because that's how I do it. That's how I kind of stay up on my hedge trimming, is I'm just, a little bit off the top, like every week somewhere on their property. So that way I'm not sitting here for 6 hours doing the 400 shrubs, you know what I mean? And, on a like a once or twice a year pruning basis. No, I'm kind of just like keeping all of them sort of tight, sort of all the time. Does that make sense? And so that's kind of how I do it. And that's like when you first started your podcast, that was one of the things that like really, like, I was like, oh man, it so freaked me out hearing your hedge trimmer story,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And, but I pretty much, I only use the, so I actually use the Milwaukee, quick lock, articulating, hedge trimmer. And I use that for all my hedges. Because that thing it's amazing. And I about every year-ish, I have to rebuild all the gears inside, but, I've blown up so many of them because, again, I am trimming hours a day, every day, trimming hedges, So, doing a lot of hedge trimming, and I use that, golf course, maintenance thing went by. Cause these houses are on the golf course as well.
Oh, but yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess it's nice. I mean, there's golf balls in the back of like a lot of my customers' houses every week, you know what I mean? But yeah, so a lot of hedge trimming, get pretty familiar with, rebuilding and using those. Love that Milwaukee, the hedge trimmer, the quick lock system, but I don't use the handheld one like you're talking about, because 80% of the bushes are kind of big, and there are, there'll be a few small ball ones, around next to the front door or whatever, but I just use the long one and just do those too. I'm not going to go back to the truck and switch to the shorter handheld one and then go back, you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of the scope of the business. And like I said, I use the lightweight mowers, all different kinds of, lightweight ones. I experimented with all of them because, I put a lot of hours on them. But it's so all the companies where I live, all the big companies that are doing these high-end houses, they all run the hydro walk behinds. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so for me, I would way rather run some kind of residential, semi-residential zero-turn or stand-on mower. Way better than even though you're going to wear it out, in a couple years. It's way better than doing the hydro walk behind, squeeze the thing, riding the Velky and all that.
Yeah.
I've done that for many years of my life. But, again, this little, like right now on my trailer, I have this little Surfer Pro, goofy looking little skeleton, little more. Have you seen those?
Oh yeah. Yeah. They're tiny. I've thought about picking one up for my backyards.
Oh, it's incredible. Like the other day, actually the bolt loosened up on the hub, like on that mower. It's one bolt that holds that back wheel on. And it like loosened up, and then my wheel was starting to fall off on a yard. This happened yesterday or day before. And I was able to kind of pull up kind of hard and kind of like pick up that side of the mower and slide the wheel all the way back on the shaft. like by hand, you know what I mean? So like, it's only 400 and some pounds. Like, it's an amazing mower, especially like if you need something for backyard, maybe you get the 34-inch one or whatever. But man, they are pretty awesome. I will say this though, it is they definitely, because I've had all the models of all the different Hustlers, Skags. I've done this my whole life, but like this little Surfer Pro, it's basically like the very low end Hustler sit down components that are like put in the stand on mower. Whereas if this mower, like if you get the little Raptor or the Hustler Dash sit down one, it's like a $3,000 mower, but it's like a $5,500 mower just in the stand up configuration. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I guess that is a downside to it. But it is cool. It is small. It's really small. Like I can put two of them even on a little 10-foot trailer. You know what I mean? Like it's real small.
That's super convenient.
So that is a good thing. Yeah. And so people have been buying them like nuts, especially the 34-inch. I'm talking about just like nationwide. I know like 5 people even locally that buy them just for, like you're saying, if you need them certain spots or whatever. It's way better than using walk behinds. It's small in the trailer. Like I said, I spent many, many years of my life, using the walk behinds. Because again, when I was a kid and when I was even mowing with my dad, middle school age and stuff, zero turns until about 05, 06, somewhere like there. Zero turns were not, any type of zero turn is not widespread. You know what I mean? Like, they just kind of, the sit down ones kind of just started to come out. And so they weren't widely seen or even used, like I said, till really 03, 04, 05. And my dad bought one. I remember he bought, the first one to try to use Toro Z Master 52, I believe, back then. And that was kind of an older model. And my dad actually had like the very first model of the John Deere Quick Track 652, because you're familiar with those.
Yeah.
But he had the one, but this was after 05 or 6 or whatever. This is, I don't know, maybe 2009 or 10. We had it was I don't even know if they called it the 652 back then, but it was still called the Quick Track. But it had the design, the original standard design that Great Dane had it back then. The first standard, horrible weight distribution. I mowed his route with it for years and years, but like horrible weight distribution. Like a thing had like very minimal traction. Back then it had like, you had to pull the deck up with 2 handles, 2 separate sides. And so what my dad he actually like built this, welded this piece up that was like part of a hammock. And so it could like loop up where your hands were and then back down to the other lever. So you could pull it up while you're on the mower still. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so we had kind of like, cause that was crazy. Like when that standard first came out, apparently it was a big deal. Like, people were suing this and that. I think Ed Wright's family really like made the standard, and then Dane Skag, which was like Great Dane and later made Skag mowers, had his version of that as well. It was called the Great Dane Surfer. Something is yellow, but it looked exactly like this early version of this John Deere one that we had. If you look up the Great Dane, I think it's called a Super Surfer, something like that.
Really?
Yeah. So like that was like the first rendition of a stand-on mower, and ours wasn't the very first rendition because, like I said, the very first one was, I believe, that Great Dane one, and there was, like other ones like other ones that were having like legal problems in the beginning in the market, but ours was still, ours was the John Deere color, but it was maybe a couple years after that. And even till recently, the John Deere ones are basically a right, you know what I mean? That's green.
Yes,
which
the
that's
old
not a
model.
bad thing.
The old model was
Right.
just a right remade.
At Lawntrepreneur Academy, we believe in a community where success is amplified, not diminished by helping others. Introducing the Lawntrepreneur Academy Link membership, your ticket to a thriving lawn care business. Join our exclusive Lawntrepreneur Academy Link Facebook group where like-minded entrepreneurs share insights, advice, and encouragement. It's not just a group, it's a family dedicated to your success. As a Link member, you'll enjoy monthly hangouts to connect with fellow lawn care professionals, bidding getting our calls to sharpen your business acumen and enlightening lessons from industry experts in our monthly guest expert series. And here's the icing on the cake, our monthly group coaching calls where your specific challenges are addressed and you receive personalized guidance to excel in your business. Yeah, there's more. Gain exclusive access to the lessons from Brian, the mastermind behind Launchpreneur Academy. With call records, PDF recaps, and more, you'll have a treasure trove of resources at your fingertips. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity to revolutionize your lawn care business. Join Launchpreneur Academy Link membership today, and let's grow together. Visit launchpreneuracademy.com and sign up now or use the link in the podcast description. Launchpreneur Academy Link, your link to success.
But I mean, I think it was pretty much until maybe until like this kind of new ones came out. I don't know what happened. Like, I think they stopped designing for them. Like, the new fancy ones that come out like at the expo last year.
Yeah, the Q8s are their own design.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, but that's not a bad thing. I mean, the right is a great,
it's a great
designer of these things. And my dad still has because I know you're a John Deere mower fan. He still has a couple of the Z9, whatever it is, sit down.
Yeah.
Commercial ones.
We still got one of those too.
Mm-hmm. And I use this Surfer Pro and like the Skag Liberty Z. That's probably one of my favorite residential models. Like, it's way better than the Toro or even a comparable John Deere ones or any of these ones, and super light. So
that's awesome, dude. That's so cool. That's such a cool story to hear, like how you've grown that and now niching down into this neighborhood. I think that there's a lot of value in that, and the detail you know about these things, the detail that you pay attention to and realize in these aspects of business is very, very cool, and I appreciate you sharing that here on the show. I know you're out working right now, aren't you?
Yes, yeah. I'm sitting in front of a $2 million house, and there. Yeah,
what are you about to go? You about to go cut some grass or trim some shrubs or what? All the above.
I've already. So I used my Milwaukee string trimmer, and I pulled up here. I don't know, 7:15 or something. They let me in the gates at 7 a.m., so it's got to be like 7:01 or something before you can come in. And like these neighborhoods, they have a little computer chip like in my truck, and so that you pull up and it like reads your chip, and then the gate will open. There's a live person there too, but like you can buy a pass, and so you come in, so they know like what time I came in,
when you
what
come
time
in,
I leave. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I came in and I edged up. It's kind of a medium-sized, I don't know. It's not the biggest property I have, but it's kind of in the middle range. It's pretty good size still. And I did all the edging and stuff, because I hate to, make a lot of noise before 8.
Yeah.
But, that's where this electric equipment, it really comes in handy for that. So I went ahead and trimmed a bunch of these shrubs and edged up this lawn and everything. And then, I was listening to a podcast in my pocket and just waited for you to hit me up. And then I ran back to my truck and then plugged the phone into this little P4 just sitting here on the console of my truck. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Dude.
So and then, do you want me to because I'm an open book. I'm willing to share like the numbers, everything.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about what you can do solo, I mean, we're coming up here, get down close to an hour, 40-something minutes. I know you got a busy day ahead, so I don't want to hold you too long. But yeah, let's before we wrap this thing up, talk about what the potential is that you can do as a solo guy like this. I mean, how can people get into this thing, grow, earn a living for their family, and create their own future, even when it seems scary? Tell them the opportunities and things that they can get into.
Well, so again, I don't know, my first couple years, I was just like everyone else. I don't know, I was doing 10,000, 20,000 maybe, and then kept building from there. Last year I did 130K, and that's solo, and, and I have no employees to pay or anything like that. So I made pretty good profit from that. And also another thing is, I guess 6-7 years ago, me and my wife had took Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University, and then, fast forward years later, we've actually taught a few of those classes. And last year we finished paying off my home, like my house and everything. So the house we bought, it's just kind of like a 3-2 on a slab, kind of like a neighborhood development kind of house. I mean, nice house, 2-car garage, all that, but but nothing, it's not fancy, I mean, it's just like, vinyl siding, it has the tall ceilings, like in that kind of open floor plan. So, I mean, it's nice, but it's, it's not a $500,000 house, you know what I'm saying? But so like, so we bought that a few years ago, but last year, so since we took that class, we've been really working on paying it down. And I have no card or truck payments or credit cards or student loans or any of that mess. So, I mean, I have in the past, but, I've paid all those things off first, just like his plan teaches. And then last year, so I did 130 and I put $50K on the house last year, solo in lawn care. And so, and again, I'm still, I have 2 kids, paying for health care, all the things, just like everyone else, trying to do my investments, just like we're taught in the class. And so last year I did 130 and there still is a little potential to do more, but see, I'm doing a slightly less this year than I was last year on purpose. Cause I was doing stuff on weekends and, trying to, finish paying the house off. But then now that, I have 0 debt anywhere. So I'm not going to, I don't want to mow, on Saturdays and do all that mess. You know what I mean? So, so some of my, I was in 3 neighborhoods. And then, so at the end of last year, when that year was over, I got rid of about 6 accounts that were left in that 3rd neighborhood. But the thing is, even this year, because I've got more efficient and because my mindset is better, like once you have no debt, like it is crazy. Like I didn't know this would be an effect, but like I really, feel settled like in my financial life.
Yeah. And you just feel at peace.
Right. So I take less crap than I ever have, from customers now. And so what I'm saying is even though I'm doing less, I was going buck wild last year. It will be less, but probably not a lot less. And I'm even working a little less just because,
sometimes less is more. Less is more. Mm-hmm. You get that time freedom back.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I've done. And like I said, that's with, I think I had maybe 33 accounts or something last year, 27 this year. And I still, work with my dad randomly, as an employee, like even like this Friday, I think he has some project going on. And also I try to fit my whole route in 4 days right now. Which obviously I was not doing that last year. So I have a 4-day route. But actually last week was probably the first week that I did a 4-day route because as starting from early spring or late winter, and trying to avoid working on Saturdays. So each Friday I was doing, a couple hundred pine straw install or yards of mulch, at one of these houses. Cause again, I'm responsible for all the ground cover, all these places, you know what I mean? So I do a couple thousand bales of pine straw a year and, mulch is not quite as common. It may be, I think you have kind of similar setup over in Alabama, but some people do have like mulch. Some people will have like mulch around like the fancy house and then, pine straw around the outer beds, and so, cause there's a lot of pine trees here and, almost half these houses, have a pool out back and then, lake beyond that or either that or golf course. So those can be, a little problematic, but here's the thing. So I think I am not talking down at, small, square, dumpy city lawns. Actually, I think if you structure that right, you can make more money doing those $30, $40 mows and line up a whole bunch of them. Potentially, there are plenty of people out there making more money doing that than doing the setup I have now. Because, yes, these are paid 12 months a year, and, yes, they're, between $250 and $550 a month. So, yes, that is true. Like my, smaller yards are down in the 2 range, medium ones are in the 3s. And it goes on up. I have a couple of like larger properties. They're still in these neighborhoods, but they have a lot of, I have one that's over 3 acres, which a lot of that's woods and stuff, but I like go through there and clean up limbs and all that. So anyway, so that one's, pushing that 5.5, range, like every month, and so what I'm saying is, yes, you can make a lot of money doing this, but it's a lot of work. Like, so if you could line up, but it's just what I want to do for right now, so, I like, I like working with high end people. I like that my service is a drop in the bucket to them. To me, that's a plus. Like there's never like, oh, well, can you come back Thursday, so I can get you the money, like, no. Like they don't even, I don't think the cost of this is really, it's not a problem for them. And I like that. I think that's a plus for me. And so what I'm saying is I'm not saying my business setup is superior to the guys that, are mowing small city lots. Mine is not superior to that. You out there mowing small city lawns. We used to live like in a little bit, sketchier part of Atlanta when I was a kid. We moved out here in the year 2000, but back then, my dad he was mowing small lawns, doing it, in Atlanta, and you can make a lot of money doing that. So hey, as long as you're making money that you need to make for your family, I don't think it matters, if it's like nice yards or dumpy yards or whatever,
Yeah. Whatever kind of model you will decide to run, just take it and excel at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it just, I live semi-close to these. I mean, I'm 10, 12 miles from these neighborhoods. So, even city lawns, I would have to drive farther than this to go to those. So obviously I'm just going to, this is what's in my area. That's what I'm saying. So I'm going to do that. But yeah, so, so that's kind of my business setup. So, my wife helps in some administration parts of my business. Cause obviously, as you know, even though I'm solo and even though I'm only got 30 accounts, there's a lot that goes into it, tax wise and just all this stuff. And so she helps some with that. But like I said, I have one son that's in first grade. My daughter is younger than that. She's not in first grade. She's be 4 years old in a couple months. But so it's been a blessing that she's been able, this is able to provide enough where she can, stop doing her jobs and do this. Cause like when we were first married, like, she had different things that she was doing, working. Yeah. But just like everyone does, but now,
she's got a new full-time job.
Yeah.
She never gets to clock out of it, but that is a huge blessing for sure.
And we don't know, me and my wife have been praying about and potentially throwing around of adoption, their life is going to continue to expand in a lot of ways. And here's the other thing. I'm not I've said this on lots of people's podcasts and stuff, but I'm not saying that I should be solo my whole life. I'm not saying that because I enjoy that for now. But as I get older, maybe I'll have a couple guys that help me on my career. Maybe I'll, do the 10,000 trucks model. I'm not opposed to that, but I want to do it the right way, and I would do it slowly. And
for sure. Because
here's the thing, like there's a lot of money here in these neighborhoods. I mean, even like a small like off-water home, not on the golf course, not anything. That's just in one of these interior lots. I mean, those ones are like $1 million, you know what I mean? Or 900,000, 800,000 kind of thing. So, and there's thousands of these homes in here. I think there's 3,000 of these properties in these two neighborhoods. So there's a lot of work here. And again, remember, because of those, brackets of people, none of those people are mowing their own lawn. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
These people, just like me, just like me and you, I'm not building and sewing my own clothes because it doesn't make sense, to do that. As an example, it makes more sense. I just buy the shirt that I need and wear it like that, So, so like these people, it's the same kind of thing. It's going to cost them more, to mow their own lawn than, they're making more than that per hour, to have me there. So I'm a blessing for them. It's a win-win, for everyone. So man,
that's awesome,
there's one more thing. There's one more thing that I was going to talk about, and I can't remember what it is now. But so for me, the big company thing, because it is hard. It's a lot of work. So if there's guys like me, generally they're around for a couple of years, and either they go big with the company and they're no longer on the truck, which I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Or they burn out and they leave. You know what I mean? So, but what I'm saying is I know several local friends that, they gone bananas with their business. They're doing millions and millions. And every day, I just got word of another friend of mine this week, for whatever reason. And I think it's just the stresses of it, the ego of it, the floating the money around, just the all the things that, like, I know several people that are lost their marriage after they make this massive company. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. There's a lot of stress that goes into it.
Yes. So I think, like, even all of us, and even you're building it proper way. Like, if we're going to build it big, we have to do it the right way. Because think about it. If we have 10,000 lawns, in our company, and we got trucks flying everywhere, and we have, we have so much money that we're making and all that, but if we lose our marriage or our family or both, what good was that? What good was that whole hustle? Like, it is literally for nothing at that point, So, I'm not saying that to, like, be negative or something. I mean, I think you can potentially think about all the family's life that you can change by having a big company and all these guys that you can potentially, in your company, there in Alabama, that you can disciple. You could change their life.
But if you lose yours along the way, then what's the point? So.
Right. Yes, but I'm saying if it's done right, then you can make more impact, more impact for the Lord, for the kingdom, by being involved in these guys' everyday life. And so if you're solo, then that means you have to put effort into, ministering and spreading his word in other ways, whereas some of that's built in, if you have a massive company. So you have to do other things, where I'm sharing with people, doing other ministry things, that are not, it's not built into my business right now. You know what I mean? Because it's just me. What you mean? Obviously, I still share with customers and things. Like, it's not hidden. Who I am is not hidden. So there's a huge potential, but I'm just saying it has to be done carefully and with having people in your corner that can kind of, keep an eye on you if you kind of go off the rails, like, I guess, mentor, whatever you want to call it. I feel like in business, like, if you're going to go big like that, you got to have people, that you check in with. I don't know. I could be wrong about that, but, because I feel like it can be so easy to slip into just the craziness 7 days a week of trying to keep up with all of it and losing sight of what is important, and just by just doing what you feel like you have to do. But that it's just like anything in life, just like driving a car. It can be very good, but it is dangerous as well. So it's got to be carefully handled, I guess, is what I'm saying. A big company, I feel like it's got to be carefully handled.
It's a lot of it's a lot of responsibility on the line. That's the thing you got to remember at the end. So, well, that is too cool, man. I appreciate the feedback here, the value that you brought today, and the knowledge that you dropped. I mean, you've been doing it long enough. You've been around it your whole life, and so you've seen a lot of different perspectives, from big to small and everything in between. So I appreciate your advice there on that. I appreciate you coming on and sharing with everybody today.
Well, thank you for having me on. I tried to just kind of, I feel like I kind of bulldozed, but, like, since I was on your podcast, I was trying to just quickly just dump everything that I could, from my business and my perspective, It's a lot to go over, a lot to cover. So, well, where can everybody keep up with you? You have your own podcast that you do, so plug that. Where can everybody come follow along with you and maybe hear more about your journey? And if they have any questions about going full-time or anything like that, they can reach out to you. Absolutely. Every day I get emails from people like, hey, what do you think I can do this? Do you think, what about this more? What about this? And so I 100% believe you can do it. And if you're new, reach out to me. If you're scared, reach out to me. I was scared. I was scared when I had, scared when I started my business, scared when I had my first kid, scared when I got married, scared, just like everybody. But, so Tony's Lawn Care on YouTube, Tony's Lawn Care Talk on podcast. Does that make sense? So it's pretty simple. So that's how that's how I'm doing it now. Been on YouTube for a lot of years. And then I think 2020 started the podcast. And I feel like, for me, podcast these days is my very favorite way to, stay in touch with the lawn care guys, because I can listen while I'm out mowing. At this point in my life, I don't necessarily have time to be watching many YouTube videos, but but I can listen while we're out working. And so that's what I try to do. So I love podcasting. Like if I can choose one thing, for the lawn care community that I'm involved in, like podcasting, I feel like is awesome. So that's kind of how I got connected with you years ago, or I started listening to your podcast years ago. And my brother and different people encouraged me to start one of my own. So I do them sometimes in the truck, sometimes, as much as I can. Need to get a little bit better and more consistent with it, which doing things like this kind of helps push me to be more consistent, do better with it. And so I'm trying to work on that. But yeah, so Tony's Lawn Care Talk. I mean, if you just type in Tony's Lawn Care on, that's not the name of my business, but like that's the name of the online
channel,
thing.
Yeah.
I on purpose, because I've done, I think I have like 700 and some videos on my channel. So like I used to do like a lot of like the vlogs and stuff. So I don't really want these customers to like find it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like they have no idea what, what Tony's Lawn Care is, but they know I'm Tony, my business is a completely different name. But anyway, if you type in Tony's Lawn Care on YouTube or on podcast, and I've been a little, especially last year, paying off the house and stuff, I've been slow on YouTube and not been making much on YouTube, and kind of as my kids are a little older, kind of a little bit family choice right now. I'm not going to be, back in the day I was, editing every night and doing all that, but I'm not doing that right now. So like, I'm not, I put videos on YouTube randomly and I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that for now, but I'm going to try to I want to be a little bit more consistent with the podcast because I love podcasting. Not because I'm not great at doing it, but I love the value that I get by listening to you and to listen to all these people. And, it's awesome to be a small part of the community like that. So,
yeah, man.
I'm even supposed to be like you were last year, year before. I'm supposed to be on Paul's podcast at the expo, on the Thursday morning.
Oh, awesome, man. That's cool.
Yeah, he texted me like back in January. He's like, "Are you coming to the expo next year?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Why?" He's like, "Oh, well, why don't you be on my podcast on Thursday morning?" I'm like, and I was like, "Man, I don't really see how I could turn that down, right?" So,
yeah, man. That's a super cool opportunity.
Yeah. And so like, man, so I need to, I feel like I need to, that's going to be a huge opportunity. And so that it also is prodding me on like, hey, I'm going to have this opportunity. Like I need to put some effort into my podcast, some as well. I'm not trying to like do it like as full-time living or anything like that. I just, hey, if I can connect with guys or help with guys, I'm not, hey, if I get sponsorships or things in the future, I'm okay with that. But that's really, really not the goal. I just really want to just to do it, just to help someone, to pour out maybe a 5% of advice, maybe at a new person and help them. And it's cool doing that, every day. And so I appreciate you. Just remember when you're in Alabama, you're making a podcast. I'm over in mowing around some multi-million-dollar pool, listen to your podcast,
Yeah.
And just all the different ones you do, like the marriage ones, the other ones, like, man, like that's cool.
Yeah, man.
And I could tell, like, you can tell, like, on those ones, you can tell that's real. Like, like when you and your wife are talking about this stuff, I kind of feel like, man, I don't know. Is this like a conversation that like I shouldn't be involved in? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's good. That's the goal, man. That's the goal. Just wide open and real and honest. So that's what it's about. But that's awesome, man. I appreciate the feedback and like I was saying, the advice you shared today. You share where everybody can find you at. So go check them out on YouTube. Listen to the podcast. See them at Equip there for the morning show. That'll be a super cool opportunity. And looking forward to hanging out with you up there and saying hey and networking some more. So I appreciate you tuning into the show today, everybody. Thank you for joining along with us. Have a great weekend ahead. And if you're listening live, come back with us here for a Marriage Monday next week where we talk about talking bad about your spouse. So without any further ado, thank you, Tony, so much for coming on and joining the show with us today, buddy.
All right, bud. Well, thank you so much for having me on. And like I said, I just really appreciate you. And I hope you don't feel like that I just like bulldozed the show. I was trying, because I thought, hey, I'll just dump it all and it'll only take me like 20 minutes and I'll just dump everything I got and we'll be done. That's what I thought.
No, man, you're good. You brought a lot of value today and I appreciate it. I know the audience does too. So I know you got to get back to work though. I don't want to hold you up. So we will let you do that. And I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in again. And so without any further ado, that's going to wrap this one up. And we look forward to catching up with everybody here on the next one.
Thanks for tuning in to the Growing Green podcast. It is an honor to have you listening, and we hope you receive valuable advice to help take your business to the next level. Don't forget to follow the podcast so you'll be notified when our next episode drops.